They're not even worthy of talking on the show. So let's move on. What's good? What's good? What's good, fans? Thank you guys for tuning in to the Voice of the Fans Weekend Special, the second edition of the Weekend Special. So I got my man to join me this week. He had some time amidst the sun rays in Seattle hitting him. He had some time to join the show with, so we appreciate that. How's it going this weekend?
Oh, not too bad, Cam. Just enjoying the fairly nice weather so far.
Oh, well, enjoy it, man. We're not going to take too long so you can get out there and enjoy the weather. So we're just going to hit some topics, fans. This is the abbreviated version of the Voice of the Fans podcast. So no numbers game, no quotes today, no weekend history. We just abbreviated topic. And what we're going to talk about today, the topics of the day are the top centers in the NBA, considering Nikola Jokic is on this historic run right now, putting up historic numbers. Cleveland, I think he's number one right now in points, number one in assists, number one in rebounds all time. Um, I think this is his run this season. Has just been really one for the ages. So we're gonna get into that forced us to talk about the NBA, the top centers in the NBA all time. We're gonna give you an all time list, Cleveland. And then we got some Zion drama that we're gonna have to get into. We're gonna touch on that for a minute, and then we're gonna talk about Teofimo, his victory last night, dominating Josh Taylor. I had it going the other way, but we're gonna touch on that in a minute. So please chime in. And tell a friend to tell a friend. If you haven't subscribed to Voice of the Fans podcast on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to us on HMB Media, go ahead and subscribe. It doesn't cost you nothing. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. So take the time and spread the word. If you only one knows about the show, it doesn't make it a great show. Let your friends know about it. Let your grandma know about it. Let your cousins, your aunts, your sisters, let them all know about the show. And so they can also participate in the show as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. And Cleveland, where you want to go first? You want to go Timo, Zion, and then to Nikolai? Where you want to start at?
We can go Fimo. Yeah, we can start with that.
So you caught that last night.
Mm-hmm.
You texting me. You're not even a boxing fan, but you texting me.
I am a boxing fan.
I mean, that was dominant. That was a dominant performance against an older, slower, tired. He looked tired. Josh Taylor looked like that ring rust was all over him. And that was a good performance of what he went in there and did what he has to do. So I can't take nothing away from him. Although I still feel T.O.'s unstable. I mean, you kind of have to be of a different mindset to enter the boxing ring to begin with, and go toe for toe against another man and throw punches and let them hit you. You kind of have to be of a different mindset anyway. But yet, I think there's something else going on with Teofimo Lopez, and it was good for him to get the win. He says he's fighting another battle off the court or out the ring with his ex-wife, trying to get his son back or whatever. Who knows how that impacts somebody? But after the win, he's talked about retiring. So it's like, dude, where are you? You're all over the place. Good win. You would think that at the height of it, he's ready to call somebody out. Why didn't you call somebody out? If you were that dominant, Cleveland, in a win like that, and you felt so good, why didn't you call somebody else out? So what's your thoughts on the fights?
Well, Cam, I mean, first and foremost, I mean, all the naysayers need to apologize. I believe I was one of the few. We brought on several boxing experts that thought it was going the other way, and I was, pretty much laughed off the show with even insinuating that Teofimo Lopez had any chance or opportunity in this fight whatsoever. So, kudos to him for, rising above and, taking what was rightfully his in the ring with a masterful performance. I mean, he just showed the power, the gut, the speed, the heart, the everything.
Power, the guts. Did he knock somebody down? Did he knock him out? He didn't finish him.
He certainly
it went the distance.
Taylor hurt for most of the fight. So it wasn't like
it was a
Taylor
dominant
was able to do anything. And plus, Taylor's a pretty dirty fighter. I don't know if you caught that. Try to touch gloves after a low blow. He just
I saw that.
Pushes his head down numerous times. I mean, the ref really could have taken the point away.
I
And
saw that.
that's all he was
That
doing.
was a slick fighter. I mean, that was slick. Go
Yeah, I
tap
mean,
up and then get the
yeah,
quick punch in
no,
there.
yeah,
I said
you
that
know,
was pretty slick.
that's not very gentlemanly, no, is it? So
No, I mean boxing isn't gentlemanly sport either. So I mean, I
okay,
think
that's fine, that's
he
fine. But
was searching.
he was
He
trying to
was
show some etiquette, and the other fighter did not acquiesce to it. But
he,
like
he
you're
was he
saying,
was reaching
with
deep. He was reaching deep for he was in trouble. So when you're in trouble, you gotta scrape the
yeah,
bottom of the
pull out
barrel.
everything. Yeah,
You
he's
got to
throwing
pull
everything out but
and
the
he
chicken,
tried
you know,
giving
but
the
the
best
kitchen
effort.
sink. But back to your point, no, Femo's not stable. He's in fact quite unstable. But when he's able to, focus up for a minute, put it all together. I mean, this is the same thing he did to Loma, right? Nobody thought he was going to win that fight. He just
Mm,
established the jab, beat someone that had never been beaten before. So,
mm.
you know, I was not as surprised as everyone else. What his future holds, I have absolutely no idea, and neither does he. It could be anything at any point. So, it's very difficult to
Let's
try
see
and.
him. See, he's gonna prove it to me. Now he's gonna prove it to me. Deal. He does have
How
the win
how's
deal.
how is it approved to me, deal when he just became the undisputed champion at
Undisputed,
140 pounds? What's he got to
undisputed right
prove to
now.
you?
That he can do it again. It wasn't a fluke. That
He's
do
he's
it
done
against
he's done it
Josh.
twice. He's done it in two different weight classes. How's that a
No,
fluke?
no, settle down now. And then at the end of the fight, in the press conference, he had the name to the nerve to invoke the name of Muhammad Ali. Come, dude, settle down. Um, he did it at 135. Now he's undisputed at 140. Again, he beat a tired Josh Taylor who clearly hadn't been in the ring in 18 months. So you went out there and did what you have to do. I'll give you credit for doing that. Let me see you do it against Ryan Garcia, which really shouldn't be a fight. Let me see you do that against Devin Haney, which would be a tougher fight. Let me see you do that against Tank Davis, which would be extremely a much more a different outcome, certainly. Let me see you do it against some of the best, not an old tired. And again, you have to beat the people who's in front of you. So I give him credit for beating Josh Taylor. But Taylor yesterday, you have to admit, was tired, slow, and his ring rust. I mean, he's still rusty. He still needs some oil today, even after going 12 rounds with Teofimo Lopez. You'd have to admit that, right?
I mean, that's not the way that you were talking like 3 days ago, or even 2 days ago. You were acting like this was going to be a mop up. So was everybody.
No, I
It
didn't
was
say a
not going to
mop
be
up.
close. You
I
did say
expected
mop up.
Taylor. I expect Taylor to win, no doubt. I did expect Taylor to
You
win
were
that
expecting
fight.
a knockout. You were expecting a knockout.
I expected Taylor to win that fight. Certainly, I did.
Okay.
And Teofimo proved me wrong. I'll give him credit for proving me wrong. But now he's gonna prove it to me, Dale. Now I got expectations. I want to see you do it just against some of the top competition. Plain and simple.
Oh, okay. So the undisputed champion is not top competition.
The undisputed champion hadn't been in the ring for 18 months.
Whose fault
He
is
was
that?
tired. He was tired and slow.
Whose fault is that, Cam?
Credit to Tio for winning this fight in impressive fashion. He dominated. It was 8-3 at worst. It was 8-3, and it could have very well been 10-2. He dominated. I think Taylor won maybe the first, maybe the third round. Outside of that, it was a washout by Teofimo. So give him credit for winning that fight. We see where it goes next, but again, his unstableness has me concerned. His father trying to overpower him throughout the not overpower him. Trying to take control of the narrative, trying to be. I mean, now he's 25. He's a grown man. You should be able to make your own decisions. And most, we're going to get to somebody else who probably needs that fatherly love. That's some fatherly advice. But trying to overshadow him with his interviewing when he's conducting the interviews, he's jumping all into the scene. He wants to be a part of something. So I don't know how that dynamic is going to continue, how successful that dynamic is going to continue to be, but we should see in the future. And again, I give Teofimo Lopez, give you Cleveland credit for him getting a W over older Josh Taylor last week. So let's jump into Cleveland. Now let's jump into Nikola Jokic is putting up a playoff run for the ages. It's not the playoff run of the 2000 Los Angeles Lakers where they went 15-1. It's not that. So let's pump our brakes on that. Let's pull. Let that be clear. It is an impressive run, but that's probably the most impressive run we've seen, right, by a big man who's dominated a playoff run.
Maybe
So
Hakeem 95, but yeah, close to it.
they didn't go 15-1.
They did not. That's true.
They didn't go 15-1. But there is there is a concern I got between Hakeem and Shaq. But let's go through this list. This list is I comprised a list of the top 10 centers of all time. And you guys can argue with me. You can disagree with me. You guys can call in the show. You can tweet me @_voice of the fans, @_voice of the fans when you hear this list. Cleveland and I are eager to hear your response. But number one, all-time center. Do you want to go 10-1 or you want to go 1-10? Which way you want to go?
10-1, please.
10-1. Number 10, Mr. Bob McAdoo. Mr. Bob McAdoo has won in his career. He has an MVP, 2 championships, 2 all-time NBA selection, 5 All-Stars. Bob McAdoo's number 10. Number 9 on my list. Number 9, this guy can actually be number 8. In fact, right now, I'm moving him to number 8 right now. I'm moving this guy to number 8. So number 9 on my list is Patrick Ewing. 1 MVP, 7 all-time NBA appearances, 11-time All-Star, 3 all-time or 3 all-defensive team selections. My number 8, Moses Malone. 3 MVPs, 8-time all NBA teams, 12-time All-Star, 2 all-defense team NBA, and 1 NBA Finals MVP. That moves him above Ewing in my estimation. David Robinson, number 7, 1 MVP, 7 all-time NBA teams, 11-time All-Star, 3 all-time defensive team members. Any arguments right there? I gave you McAdoo, Ewing, Moses, and David Robinson. Any arguments right there? That anything you want to clear up right there?
We'll have to see how the rest of your list goes, Cam. But so far that order is in succession.
So I gave you number 10, number 9, number 7, or number 8, number 7. Number 6 on my list is Wilt Chamberlain. Number 6. He has 2 rings, 1 Finals MVP, 4-time MVP of the league, 7-time All-Star, 13 All-Star selections, 2 all-defensive team selections, 2 all-defensive player of the year selections, and 2-time all-defensive team, first team member. That's number 7 on my list.
You said 6, but continue.
That's number 6. Number 5 right now. We're being this is projection. This has to do with projections because where we are right now today. I've elevated Nikola Jokic to this list. Number 5. Presuming they'll win 1 game over the next it's game 4, game 5 comes when they win 1 of the next 3 games, 2 games. He will have 1 ring. He'll win without a doubt win the Finals MVP. He already has 2 MVPs, 3-time all-time NBA team, 4-time All-Star. Number 4, and I have a problem between. I'm really struggling with number 4 and number 3, but number 4 at this moment is Hakeem Olajuwon. 2 rings, 1 MVP, 1 Finals MVP, 6-time NBA, 6-time All NBA team, 12-time All-Star, 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 5-time All Defensive team. Really struggling because I really feel he should be ahead of this guy, my number 3 guy. But the number 3 guy was just Shaq was just so dominant. When Shaq in that 3-year period, it was more dominant than I personally have ever seen. any player be, and it's that 2000, 2001, 2002 was just more dominant than anybody I've ever seen. I typically want to go, what do you do on both sides of the ball? But what Shaq did offensively was just ridiculous. And he was a three-time all defensive team. Though it was the second team, he did have all defensive recognition, two-time all defensive player of the year, 15-time all-star, eight-time all MVP, all NBA team, one MVP, three finals MVPs, and four rings, as we know. So I can argue a king, but just again, Shaq was just the most that 3 year span was more dominant. Dominant. I didn't say best, just more dominant than any player I've seen. Number two, Bill Russell, 11 rings, five MVPs, six all NBA teams, 11-time All Star. And then number one is the Cap, Kareem Abdul Jabbar, six rings, two finals MVPs, six MVPs, 10-time all NBA team, 19 All Star appearances, five-time all defensive team selection. Cleavon, what problem do you have with my list?
Ken, it's not a bad list. It's not a bad list. I would only make two moves. I would move Wilt from the 6 to the 3, and I'd move Joker from the 5 to the 7.
You put Joker behind David Robinson?
Yes.
Again, this is projecting. Robinson's career is obviously done. Joker has a lot more to go. Robinson ran the floor better. That's about what he did better than Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, and I think you also, failed to mention that he did win Defensive Player of the Year. So that was one of the things you didn't mention. So
Robinson, yeah, I didn't have that. Again, like I say, he ran the floor better. That's I think is about the only thing he did better than Nikola. He's just ran the floor better. That's his body type.
He certainly plays better defense. He certainly is quicker in the paint. So those things he does better than Joker. Joker passes better, a little bit more range. But David was good at 25 feet. So
the Shaq, how do you feel about Shaq and Akeem? Like Akeem, and so a lot of these players didn't get a chance to go head to head, and Akeem dominated Shaq, though it was early. He dominated Shaq. He swept Shaq's team, essentially. He swept Shaq out the playoffs. Once he swept him out the playoffs. Shaq admitted he was scared to death when he saw Akeem. So the head to head matchup obviously went to Akeem, and none of these other players went head to head. Well, he went head to head with Ewing, with Robinson, not in the finals, but he played them obviously. And so head to head, Akeem would get the nod, but Shaq did get two more rings, and as I stated, he got two more MVPs, and that 3 year run with the Lakers, 2000, 2001, 2002. That is the most. Would you agree with me? That's the most dominant we've seen a big man play in this league.
That we've seen for sure. Yeah. Dave never had a run like that. Hakeem had a mini run there for, the 94 through 95. Like you said, Shaq was more dominant. If we're just looking at a skill set, I think Hakeem had a better skill set, but I don't think he necessarily impacted the game as much as Shaq. And, Shaq was an unstoppable, immovable force. So I don't have a problem with Shaq being over Hakeem. Given what he was able to do and accomplish. Now, did he have a move like the Dream Shake? No, you're never going to see that again. Did he?
He had to drop step and dunk on you.
Drop step and dunk. So it might not be as picturesque as say the Shake, or he's never going to have a quadruple double with steals and blocks, but at the same time, no one was stopping Shaq. So
yeah, it was just I mean, the numbers we're not gonna go to the numbers on what the numbers are doing. Like, although Jokic is just his run right now is just amazing, but the sheer dominance and the sheer dominant force that Shaq was is just kind of, I mean, really unshakable, right? It's just unshakable is what he was doing, the force that he's been. So, um, to kind of put this in perspective, right now, the run that Jokic is on this season and how he elevates to my number five is in this playoff, in this postseason, he has 572 points, 253 rebounds, 186 assists, more than any player has done. That ranks number one, and number one. No player has this stat line in the whole postseason. So when we say Shaq was more dominant in that 2000 series, or I say Shaq was more dominant in that 2000 series, he wasn't doing this. He wasn't doing what Nikola is doing this series or this postseason, and that's what makes this run is so impressive. Um, Wilt slips into my top. I had Wilt before I actually sat down and figured this out. I had Wilt around 8 or 9, but his 4 MVPs are just, you can't ignore the 4 MVPs, 13-time All Star, um, 2 Defensive Player of the Year. That can't be ignored. And where I want to move,
Did lead the league in assists 1 year as well.
okay, 1 year, because they said he couldn't do anything else, so he decided against those carpenters and insurance salesmen that he'd go out and lead the league in assists. Okay,
Sure.
good, kudos to you. So that's again, this is a bit of projection to have Jokic at number 5. We understand that, but leading the series 3-1, going down there and snatching the souls from the Miami Heat in their home court. Now, do you think Miami can win game 5 in Denver and send it back to Miami for game 6?
It's possible they could win it the same way they won game 2. I mean, I think if Denver is playing at their best, then they don't have a chance. But Denver may not be playing at their best. That's why we're playing the games. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Heat take it back to Miami.
How about if the Denver gets anything from Michael Porter Jr.? Anything at all?
Yeah, then it would be hard. It would be a tough battle. I mean,
I told you months ago, if they got 20 points a night from that kid, they would be absolutely unbeatable. But he can't break the mark. He has been the coldest shooter. We've seen Christian Braun come in and take his minutes. We've seen Brown has already been solid all series, all playoff long. He come in and get the big minutes. He scored 20 points the other night in game 4 to close that game out. Who is it going to be? KCP really hasn't had a big game yet this series. So that's 4 guys that can step up. We saw Aaron Gordon earning his money. Aaron Gordon is he's been a really good addition to that team, considering he's a big body down there. He can play defense. He can move. Catch is known for a dunker, where he's shown that he's more than a dunker. He can actually score points when need be. He hit the 3. He's tough around the rim, and I think his defense has been most impressive. Not only in this series, but last series when he was playing against LeBron, his defense was much better than anticipated. Again, the 6'10", 250, and be able to move, versatile. He's been very impressive, and he's carried that through the playoff season. He's about to earn a ring. I like seeing guys like that who was all but forgotten about in Orlando. Again, the thing he was known for was his dunking, beating out old boy for the dunk contest.
Zach LaVine.
Yeah, so I like to see that. I'd like to see him earn his money. I really would want to see Michael Porter Jr. get out, have a 20-point game. You have a 20-point game, and they win the title, and then everybody can wash away the rest of the series. Man, if you go out with a big game, that will wash away the rest of what this series has been for you. So let's see if they can get that done. But the Heat don't play good at home. They kind of reverse to the Celtics. They don't play well at home. They play better on the road when their backs are against them. Um, they got to go to Miami. I mean, I know that's the talk of it anyway. Okay, we're only packing for one game. We got to go back home to Miami anyway. To clean out our lockers, to have our postseason postseason press conference or postseason meeting. So you got to go back home anyway. Why not bring the Nuggets with you and just play another game for your fans and try not to let the fans walk out the door early? Because Miami, Miami's notorious for they're worse than Laker fans. Them bandwagon Laker fans leaving the stadium early and 5 minutes to go in the game. The Miami fans are out. Like, come on, guys. There's 800 miles of beaches that aren't going nowhere. What are you guys rushing to? I don't get it. So, do you give Miami any chance at all of pulling out? And what will it take? Let me ask that question. What will it take for Miami to pull out game 5 in Denver?
Bam Adebayo has to play more like a superstar if he actually truly is that. Duncan Robinson.
Are we seeing Bob? Are we seeing that Adebayo is not a superstar, or we see that he actually needs more help? What are we seeing from about Adebayo?
This is not the time when you're looking for more help, Cam. This is the NBA Finals, and that's not a thing.
More help is not a thing?
No.
So Jimmy doesn't need more help?
I mean, Jimmy could use some more help. Yeah, in the coming.
So your playoff god right now, the guy you anointed a playoff god 2 weeks ago, he's not looking for more help?
I said playoff legend. I did not say playoff god.
Playoff legend.
Let's correct that. You said what would it take for Miami to win? Yeah. I am not ready to say Bam is a superstar just yet. He needs to play more like a superstar. Duncan Robinson has to shoot better. Vincent has to be that weird guy that appeared out of nowhere.
Disappearing. Yeah, talk about a disappearing.
Him. So those are the factors that need to happen in order for that to happen.
Would you put Tyler, if Tyler could go, would you put Tyler Hero in the game?
No.
Not at all?
No, he's missed way too much time to be anything but a distraction.
I think he led the team in points this season. You do not put him in the game?
He hasn't played in probably
a month.
Yeah. So what is he going to do but get tired from the adrenaline? They're playing in Denver. So the air is already thin. I mean, all he's going to do is get really tired and throw up a bunch of shots, hoping they go in. He has no rhythm. What to speak of? I wouldn't play him at this point.
So if they go down 10 in the second quarter, you're not throwing him in there to see if he can get hot, if he can knock down a few jumpers?
No.
I mean, if they get desperate, you got to throw him in. You got to suit up. Big guy. If Robinson can get hot and hit a couple threes and give you guys some rhythm.
Robinson's been playing the whole playoffs. He's been at that. You can't just jump into a finals game, Cam, after not playing for a month and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready." Yeah.
No.
Let me. Yeah. No, that's not how this thing works, man. The intensity level, what they're playing for, is just way too. This isn't like he's subbing in a, at the IMA, a pickup game. This is like the NBA Finals, man. Those dudes will be blowing by him. They'll be like, this guy's not even mentally on the same page as the rest of us.
Again,
you're hoping he's gonna come in and be Tyler Hero from December, man, just busting people.
No, my point is
that's not a thing. That's not
my point. My point is if you're already down 3-1, you go down 10, it's looking bleak. You're searching for anything. Come on, at least see what my best scorer of the season is can give me anything. Can he give me 15 points off the bench? That might be the 15 points we need. That might be the spark. This guy hasn't played in a month.
If that's what they're depending on, Cam, this series is over.
Well, the series might be over anyway. That's kind of my point.
Yeah, if that's any kind of factor, whether Tyler Hero plays or not, then no, man.
Come on, Can you count? Are you counting on a Jimmy 40-point game?
You're not counting on it, but it would
Right,
it's
right.
certainly what you would probably most likely need in order to win that game.
Yes, I mean, no doubt about that. You need that. Are you going to get that? I Chances are no. We haven't seen anything close. I think the most points he scored in this series is 23. So we haven't seen. He hasn't been close. He hasn't got a 30-point game, let alone a 40-point game. Bam Adebayo, as you mentioned, is he? Are you expecting a 30-point game out of Bam? No, I think his best game has been 25 points. So they're searching right now. They need somebody to step up. Gabe hasn't showed up. Um, Robinson hasn't. He showed up in game 2. He hit a couple 3-pointers to put you in the mood. They're searching for stuff right now. So if they can get 15, 20 points, some Hero can hit him with some momentum, give him some excitement, put the team on his back in a sense. They can get something out of him. Put him in the game. It's not going to hurt you. It's not hurting you. So put him in the game, right? That's what I say. Put him in the game. It's not costing them anything. So let's see what they can do. A couple other guys, like I say, Gabe Vincent hasn't shown up and given you any points. Struce isn't giving you any points. Martin isn't cashing in for you guys. So put him in the game and hope you hit lightning. I mean, that's I think the best they need to do. You know, Miami needs Dame. Dame might need Miami. That might be that might be something worth speaking on. Dame might need Miami. He threw up. He had an interview a couple of days where he talked about not want to leave Portland, and I can dig it. I can dig it. He just want to be the star of the city. I can dig it, but just don't. Let's not talk about winning. Let's not talk about the championship being championship caliber if you choose to really stay in Portland, Mr. Dame Dog. Another big story of the weekend, Cleveland. I wouldn't even say the weekend. It's been like a week-long saga. Zion Williamson had the baby reveal party, and then we start since the baby reveal, we learned a whole lot more about Zion Williamson and what he's been doing down there in New Orleans. Now, some people, not me, on the show, want to blame David Stern,
Adam Silver
for not freezing the envelope and sending them to a different city, blaming it was the food down there in New Orleans holding Zion back.
Both of those are correct.
But apparently, is neither one of those things holding Zion back. Apparently, Zion has been on IG a little too much for Willie Green's liking and his selection process. Now, I have to question the kid's selection process. At 20, our selection process as men at 20, 21, 22 years old is a little different, Cleveland. And when you have $200 million at your access, it might go a different direction, and you might get a little further from the path than you actually should be, right? And so we see Zion passing out all these money. Let me back up. Paul Pierce, you didn't see the clip. Paul Pierce made it abundantly clear that there's sites. Rent a girlfriend for a day. Paul, if y'all didn't see it, you got to see the shows. The Showtime, where Showtime went live, doing a live streaming with Paul Pierce and KG, former teammates, and it's crazy how Paul Pierce still doesn't understand what the definition of going live is. That's wild to me. However, Paul Pierce made it abundantly clear that there are websites that you can go to rent a girlfriend. I don't know if that's the site that Zion was on, but Zion's been definitely renting some women. And this renting women has really he rented the wrong one. because she is blowing up the spot like nobody's business. She's been on a text rant, Cleveland, for the last 5 days since the date, since the baby reveal party or that Zion had with his girlfriend. This lady is his side piece is just going bananas. Cleveland, what can Zion do? Clearly, a NDA wasn't didn't work for Zion because this girl ain't shut up for 5 days. She's just tweeting up a storm, telling all their business. What can Zion do to put a halt to this?
There's nothing that Zion can do to put a halt on this, Cam. Unfortunately, this is not the 90s, man. This is not even the 2000s. There is no incognito, this kind of stuff going on anymore.
Man.
And certainly if you scorn someone, there are just way too many opportunities and resources with which to get back at someone, like releasing their text messages, sending their own, and all of a sudden everything that you have done that was private now can be for public consumption. And it sounds like there's no end to the content and the amount of things that this person can throw out. In addition, I've heard there may even be a third person that has come off the top rope. So yeah, this is Sean Kemp Jr. Basically, he's just spread himself a little bit too thin.
No. They take it back. You got to take this back. Sean Kemp was in the 90s.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
locally, you knew locally kind of what was going on because Sean Kemp wasn't afraid to go out.
Exactly that. But if this would have been in a social media era, what Sean Kemp was doing, wow, it would have been hard. He already had to leave town because he had the the 5 kids or the 7 kids with 5 different women. He already had to leave town because of that pressure. Zion is just like the spotlight's just on him. He's 22. He's from South Carolina. Doesn't look like he was really all that, cool and smooth anyways before that. It doesn't really seem to emit that type of charisma when, in the spotlight. So yeah, man, he's just going to be a victim of what technology can do to you if used, for evil and not for good.
Are you willing to admit New Orleans was not the problem? If he was in New York,
no, I'm not willing to admit that. Why? New Orleans is not a place for somebody 6'7", 260 pounds from South Carolina, man. That's not the place to go.
New York would have been worse.
No,
don't you think it would have been worse in New York?
No.
Why
it's a different kind of a thing.
Why don't you think it's been
you're
worse?
The face of New York adverse be the face of New Orleans. That's not the same thing.
I don't understand how it wouldn't have been worse in New York. You don't think they have restaurants in New York? You don't think they have gold diggers in New York?
Have you been to New Orleans?
I have not. I have not been to New Orleans.
Yeah, it's not like a regular city, man. It is like all about the kick. It's all about the good food. It's all about just, the Vegas of the South, if you will.
Again, it's not New York. New York, you have everything in
New York's a metropolis. New York, you'll have people that are like, you'll have to have people, man. They don't, it's not going to be that same kind of a thing. He would have had more of like I don't want to compare careers, but it
New
wouldn't
York
have been the same.
It's everything he's doing in New Orleans, he could do 10 times over in New York City.
I don't think he would have had the same bad habits. Now certainly I don't know this young man well enough to say that. All that I'm saying is that he wanted to be in New York. New York wanted him, and he would have embraced that opportunity differently than what he's doing in New Orleans.
I don't think the city has anything to do with it. Clearly, he's flying. He's importing, flying these girls around town. So whether he was in New York, Charlotte, Memphis, or Minnesota.
No, he needs to be above the Mason Dixon, man. All those Memphis, Charlottes, wouldn't have been good. But the worst one is New Orleans, man, for sure.
Again, I'm not sure the city has anything to do with it because he was flying. He saw this chick, and it's like, okay, I got to get with that.
No, it wouldn't have been as bad as Miami. I think Miami would have been horrible for him. I think Miami, he might have been missing practices and whatnot. Just too cocky.
I mean, shit, he ain't went to practice. He ain't played it. He hasn't played. He's missed over the 270 possible games. 280 possible games. He missed. He's played 50 games, something crazy, ridiculous like that. I mean, he practice. He's not going to practice. He's not with the team. He's not. Come on, it's really. He's not doing any of that.
Well, I mean, for me, I mean, are you ready to move on, or
are you? That was my next question.
Trying to resurrect, these South Carolina Cats, man.
Ooh, you put it on two of them. What? Yeah. 1 and 2 2019.
1 and 2.
So are we saying just we can't draft anybody from South Carolina now? We put it all on South Carolina. Woo! Cleveland went deep on that one. Are you still trying to resurrect them? I mean, if you're New Orleans, you can't give up on them.
Why? Why? What is he going to give you?
I mean, that's still potential.
He's going to give you a bunch of headache. He's never ever going to be healthy.
When he played,
he has too much torque for his size. He has never been able to develop a game because he's never been healthy enough to play.
New Orleans needs a superstar, so they can't quickly.
He's not.
If it were New York, if it were your Lakers, if it were any other team, a metropolis, yeah, I think they can get up. I think Miami actually would be a good spot for him.
No,
because he's not going to have the leash behind the Don.
He doesn't have the mental makeup and mindset to be part of that organization.
The Don is not going to allow this bogus BS to be going on. Alonzo, go talk to this kid. Haslam, you need to clear out one of those rooms for him because he's staying with you now. He's staying with you, Haslam, for the next year. Yep. You got a room.
We're past all that, my guy. He's past all that. He's past all that. I personally do not think he is worth the risk.
You do not think so? He's out the league?
No, not out the league. I mean, just someone will take the risk. But
that's what I'm saying. I think New Orleans. I think New Orleans needs that they need that superstar.
But he's not that. He's not a superstar.
Cam. Well, he hasn't panned out to be as we speak. He hasn't proven that he's a superstar.
So but he hasn't panned out to be.
But that. He has the potential. When they play,
you just said he's missed 75% of his games.
When he has played, he has shown that there's promise there. When he has played, and we just got to unlock that key to get him to that promise. And again, you know how I feel about the veterans, and you need some mentorship. They don't have that in place in New Orleans. A lot of teams don't have that in place, and that's specifically why I say Miami wouldn't be a bad place for him. Because Pat Riley's not going for a certain ish. Eric Spoelstra and Alonzo Mourning, I think, can get to him in that sense. That's why I think that would be actually a good place for him. But if I'm New Orleans, no, New Orleans can't give up on him. They can't give up on him. They paid him too much. We're still looking for that return in our investment, and we just can't let you walk without that return on investment. It's New Orleans. They need a star. And yeah, he hasn't been one, but without him, they have Ingram is good, but he's not Zion level. With Zion, they went to a different level. So fans, what do you think? Let us know what you think about the top 10. The top 10 list we rattled off about Teofimo Lopez. Is he unstable? Can he do this? Can he do this against Haney? Can he do this against Tank? Do you want to see him and Ryan Garcia? I think if he went against Ryan Garcia, it would be much of the same. What do you think about Zion Williamson? Do you give up on him if you are the New Orleans Pelicans? Excuse me. Do you give up on Zion Williamson? And if you're Miami, would you be interested in the Zion Williamson? Do you think Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra and that Heat culture can get the best out of Zion Williamson at this point in career, or is he done? Is he a done deal? Cleveland, I want to thank you for making time for us this weekend. While the sun is shining in Seattle, I know you guys got a lot to do. Go down, ride the beach to Lake Washington, take a tour around the city. Thank you, fans. Give yourself a round of applause for tuning in. Join us again on Tuesday night for the full episode of Voice of the Fans podcast. Again, Tuesday night, full episode of Voice of the Fans podcast. Tell a friend about the show, and we appreciate your time. We're gonna holler at you soon.
Talk soon, bro.